City of Lowell Council Subcommittee on Auditors and Clerk Oversight will hold a public hearing. Today's date is February 2nd, 2016. Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Chairman Belanger.
Here.
Council Leary.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Three present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if I could, I know that a number of us had made, or a couple of us made motions to sort of get a status update and bring new members up to speed on the status of the auditor search. We have with us the acting auditor, Mr. Healy. Thank you for your service. Also, we have Council Milanazzo, Council Samaras, the clerk, and the Human Services Director, Mary Callery, with us. Thank you for joining us, Mary. So, as we were chatting just before the meeting, we've posted this position 3 times. And the first time we got a number of candidates and we interviewed 3, but there was still not, a number of members of the council at the time were still not satisfied with the pool of candidates. So we went back out and we reposted and got, maybe I can just defer to Mrs. Callery. On the second time we posted it, we got another, how many, Mrs. Callery? So we got another 10 candidates, and again, the background and the experience just didn't seem to be in line with the job description. So we went on a third time, and we got another couple of applications. So in the meantime, in the third posting, we increased the salary to include the retirement stipend that the auditor gets as a result of being the auditor and sitting in as a member of the retirement board. So that being said, this is why we're here, just to have a discussion on where, to bring a recommendation to the full council. What is the process? Where are we at? How do we want to proceed with filling this position? So with that, Mr. Auditor, we thank you for your time, but there is some sense of urgency, if you will. You know, Mr. Healy was kind enough to do this on a part-time basis. You have been there since, I'm afraid to ask, Mr. Healy. So if you could, we know we asked you to do this on a part-time basis. We had every expectation of filling this position beforehand, but you have seen the pool of candidates. But I think we need to make a decision on moving forward.
I've been obviously happy to do it for as long as I have. I originally thought it was 60 days, but it's gone to close to 6 months now. And I would hope the city council can find a candidate. I am limited in the number of hours I can work in the course of a year, and I know the calendar just turned over on that, but I think I'm probably more productive to the city manager and the city finance team and the city council dedicating time to the upcoming budget and capital budget presentation and then working in the auditing office. I will stay there until you can hopefully find a soon replacement. But the work is getting done. It is a good staff down there. And I think as you look at candidates, I would just recommend that you don't need to be a CPA. I really don't think that's mandated. If you find one, that's good. Someone with accounting experience and knowledge, not even necessarily a degreed accountant. The big thing is the familiarity with the Massachusetts municipal finance laws in general. They're complicated. They don't comport to national accounting standards particularly. So you're keeping almost 2 sets of complicated books for reporting purposes to the Department of Revenue. So, you know, understanding the Massachusetts system and being able to do the reports to the Department of Revenue. And Munis, but Munis is no magic. Munis is a financial accounting system. If anybody has worked with a financial accounting system that's Windows-based, then they can learn Munis very quickly. So I would hope that the City Council, I'm happy to see you've taken this seriously and are embarking on trying to get me out of full-time employment.
No, again, we thank you. And I agree. I think it's important that we bring closure to this issue for a number of reasons. First, that office needs some stability moving forward. You were able to close the year out, but I'm sure DOR and our lenders and all the financial institutions wants us to see stability across the board, including the auditor's office, to join with the CFO and the treasurers to have a permanent solution to this. So I think it's important that we move forward, that we hire from the pool of candidates, and work towards putting that last, I think, critical and important individual in the city who provides the checks and the balances on the entire operation. I'm sure our independent auditors want to do. They want to continue to proceed with their field audits. So I'd like to make a motion that this position was posted until it's still open. So I'd like to have the committee recommend bringing forward a motion to finalize this post and have a deadline of this Friday. And as of Friday, we will, whatever applications that we have, we proceed in that motion to recommend names to the clerk, and we'll go through that process. But I think the first thing would be to close this posting with the deadline being this Friday. So I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Leary. And on the motion, Council Belanger?
Yes, thank you.
Council Leary?
Yep. I do want to thank Mr. Healy for his service to the city in that. I know, so you've done a tremendous job. We're almost too comfortable having you there, but nonetheless, something's got to break here. We feel, as you said, you are far better served with the manager with the upcoming budget season, and as you can see, we've made this a top priority, Mr. Healy, and please, we will get this done sooner rather than later. But what I'd like to touch on, the subcommittee and the councilors who are here, and Councilor Leahy has joined us as well, regarding salary. How are we competing with other gateway cities across the Commonwealth? I know we included the stipend for the retirement board, which was never included. So do we feel we're competitive to my fellow colleagues? Are we competitive on this bid? And do we feel that's an issue in not attracting the candidates we'd like? We know it's been slow going, so I just want to open it up for dialogue. What my colleagues feel is, are we competitive? I know we were a few percentage points maybe down from average, not by much, but with the stipend, I think we're right there. So I just want to get some thoughts from the subcommittee and my colleagues to if we feel we're competitive on this position, because we do want to try and get the best here in the city. So,
Just quickly, first, I think, Councilor Belanger, that's a good comment in terms of making sure we're doing competitive salary. I think we're at 105, Ms. Callery. I think, the average might be the 105, 110, so we're not completely at the average, but we're not way below it either, which I think is important. I think the first thing that the prior council did, which are all of you were confident not to make a rush decision, which I think is important. I think that shows confidence to our lenders and what have you in terms of managing this appropriately. I think now, however, we need to make a decision in terms of picking the next person. I do support the motion that Councilor Elliott put forward to bring this to an end. I think keep leaving it open until Friday. I think, Ms. Callery, if you can leave this posted on their website, there are other interested people who may have not applied. They still are afforded that opportunity. We go through that process and begin, hopefully by Tuesday, setting up interview dates for the prospective candidate. But again, I think the good thing is we're confident enough not to make a rush decision. If there's an issue in terms of salary, I think we're confident enough to make those adjustments appropriately. But I think right now, Councilor Elliott's motion is appropriate. And going forward with that, I think we'll be in a good position to pick the correct person or the appropriate person for this position. And as Mr. Healy said, I think it's nice to have a CPA. I think it's a great designation. It shows commitment to your field. But I think what's equally as important is experience. What have you done in the past? Where have you resolved issues that may have developed? How do you interact managing people? This is not just an auditor that reports to us in terms of the finances or working with the city manager as a checks and balances, but also manages the payroll department and manages other functions that are, if done incorrectly or managed incorrectly, cause a lot of problems and heartache for the city as well as the council. So I think that those skill traits are equally as important as your designation. Again, it's great to have that. It shows commitment. It shows that obviously you value that role and that role of being an auditor or an accountant, but it's not the absolute. So I definitely support the motion for Councilor Elliott and look forward to reviewing some of the candidates.
Council Leahy?
Thank you. I think that's a good motion. I think we should take a look at the salary. I'm glad you brought that up for discussion. So from my research, we're not off by much, but maybe we could go up another 5,000, 7,000, make it more attractive. And I think what we should be looking at also is just to kind of take a look at the office. I don't think it needs a complete overhaul, but I think that it's time we take a look at it, see the, who's in there, who's working under the auditor. Is there any way we can streamline, make it more efficient? Maybe there isn't, maybe everything's fine in there, but while we're in this process and we're in a little bit deep now looking for a new auditor, we should just take a good look at the office, make sure it's running well. So that would be my suggestions, as long as maybe taking a look at the salary and maybe perking it up a little bit so we can get the best qualified candidate to come in and transform that office into, well, I don't want to say, just get the office back on track. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Council. Council Samaras?
No, I think this is a good motion because, it's been on our table for a long time and it has to get off the table. We understand that. But based on Council Leahy's suggestion of raising the salary, would we at least extend the process for another week? My concern is, are we going to raise the salary for the candidates that we have or raise the salary to try to encourage a few more? And I'm saying, would one more week make the difference at this particular point if we were to do something like that? But I understand, the need.
I just think
to
Mr. Healy's
address-
been very patient, and he needs
No,
to, he needs to leave.
No, I understand that, but I'm talking about if we raise the if we raise the salary,
Yeah,
give people an opportunity.
I think at this point where we're at, we're starting the process over. I think if you're going to raise the salary, you start putting it out for a couple more weeks. I don't disagree with you, but I think at this point we've got to, personally, I just think we have to move forward, and I'm not convinced unless we significantly raise the salary. And if you look out, if you look out in the field and you see what treasurers and CFOs and business managers are making, it's a substantial difference. So I don't know. I don't disagree, but I just think that we need to move forward. And maybe if we're not satisfied with the list of candidates, then we start over. But it's just the time. So I don't know.
Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I think Council Samaras brings up a good point that if we're going to consider raising the salary, we're going to have to really extend it a little bit longer, which I would rather go forward with the motion and close it by Friday. I think 105,000, as Council Leary indicated, was certainly in the ballpark. And again, it's in my opinion, it's a good community to work for. There's a strong finance team here, and I think whoever we end up recommending will learn the job, as Mr. Healy said, and as long as they have experience with Munis and can run a department like this. I guess my question would be through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mrs. Callery. Are the people on this list that you forwarded to us, are they still interested in the position? You're going to find out. Okay. Because again, as we had all done before, I think we had submitted our 2 or 3 names and did have some, interest in a couple of the candidates that are on this list. So, thank you.
Council, that's exactly the point, which is kind of why we wanted to move forward, Council, that, let's proceed with this process and see who is available. We interviewed some of these people, some of these folks back in September, October.
Correct.
So they in fact may not be available, and we may have to go back out one way or the other. So, the thought was we close the deadline, and then by Monday, if members, we'll bring a recommendation if members can get their 3 candidates to the clerk, and Mrs. Scalary can call those three, and if two of the three aren't available, then we'll go to the fourth and see if we can get a couple, and if not, then we go back out. I don't disagree. We want the best candidate, but it seems like the process has been dragging on too long, and we need to bring some closure, at least to this point. And, I mean, we have candidates applying that applied before, the first set, so I agree.
Thank you. No, thank you. I agree. I mean, with the process, that, my only concern was if we were to raise the issue, the money,
Yep.
just like Councilor Milonazo said, we were setting up a new table
Yeah, it's not fair to the
to
others.
work from. So I would agree with this. Deal with what we have and go through with it. I accept that. Thank you.
So as part of that motion, or maybe we'll just, I mean, roll call on the first motion, then we can make another one to address the process to the clerk.
Could I just add one more thing? So I agree, you know, we'll keep it the way it is, and we'll put our list together Monday for the clerk. But I do want to emphasize that, you know, we hire a manager, and the manager comes in, he picks his team, and they go from there. The clerk's office, this is just my observation. So the clerk's office, we've kind of worked with them, and then with this process of trying to fill that position, I feel we kind of neglected that office. So I just want to make sure that we as a council, they're under our direction. You know, when we hire, if we do get a chance to hire a new auditor, we'll make sure that we work with them and make sure we get that office organized to their liking, and make sure we're doing some good work down there, which we are, but I just want to make sure we're not neglecting our duties on that end too, so.
No, I think just to mention, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman, just I think
Councilor
your
Leary.
point's an excellent point, Councilor Leahy. I think once you hire that person, part of the questions really are, what do you envision for that department? I think that's an intelligent question, and once you get them in, I think other motions and other, working with that office, you can make those adjustments as appropriate. So I think that's a good comment, and really an idea where we should be looking at. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll get a roll call on Councilor Elliott's motion, Mr. Clerk, please.
Chairman Belanger,
Yes.
Councilor Leary,
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
3 yeas.
So so the second part of the motion, or the second motion would be to following the deadline that each member of the city council submit to the city clerk by no later than, if we could make Monday morning, because that would give Ms. Scalary that'll give the clerk some time to tabulate the votes, and then Mrs. Scalary can make the phone calls, and if necessary, go to the next candidate. And so I make a motion that by no later than 9 o'clock, all right, Mr. Clerk? No later than 9 o'clock Monday morning, that
That'd be fine. My day's half over then, Council. That'll be fine.
Good to know.
9:30. It's no later than 9 o'clock that names be submitted to the city clerk for those candidates who would like to be considered for the position of the auditor.
Second.
Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Chairman Belanger,
Yes.
Councilor Leary,
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
3 yeas.
Okay, so with that being said, Councilor Elliott, so we're going to need Human Resource Manager Mary Callery to supply the council with all interested individuals with resumes on Friday afternoon, so we can, dawn over the weekend, go back and forth, and then submit names on Monday morning. Is that correct? Mary, okay.
Right, yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Did